In the American Midwest, in a quiet corner of the state of Ohio, there is a small town called Circleville. It's a typical American town, known for its annual pumpkin festival, where everyone knows each other by name. Neighbors drop in on one another for morning coffee, children run through the streets until dusk, and the mailman delivers letters to the doors at the same time every morning. But starting on that March morning in 1976, what the mailman brought was no longer just letters, it was also the beginning of a nightmare that would last 20 years. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of the Circleville Letters, a town held captive by an author whose identity was never fully uncovered. This is the tale of how an ordinary mailbox turned into a source of terror, how a town's secrets were laid bare, and a mystery whose questions still remain unanswered. It all began with a letter left in the mailbox of a school bus driver named Mary Gillespie. Mary was married and a mother of two. She had met her husband Ron during their high school years. They had married and they lived as a respected family in the town. But that letter would shatter this order entirely. The sheet of paper inside the envelope contained chilling lines written in capital letters by hand. The letter told Mary to stay away from the local school superintendent, Gordon Massey, and implied that her home was being watched and her children were in danger. The letter writer claimed there was a forbidden affair between Mary and Massey and threatened to expose it to everyone. At first, Mary didn't take the letters seriously, but a week later, a second one arrived, then a third, a fourth, and now the letters weren't only coming to Mary, they started arriving for her husband Ron as well. One letter contained a horrifying piece of advice for Ron, to catch Mary and Massey together and kill them. Ron Gillespie was determined to find the letter writer and put an end to this nightmare. Their prime suspect was Paul Freshour, the husband of Ron's sister. To test Paul, they sent him letters that read, "We know who you are," and for a while the letters stopped, but this was just the calm before the storm. In August of 1977, Mary went on vacation to Florida with a friend. Ron and the children stayed home. On the night of August 19th, just past midnight, Ron received a mysterious phone call. When he hung up, there was rage on his face. He told his children, "I'm going to confront the letter writer," grabbed his gun, got into his pickup truck, and disappeared into the darkness of the night. Ron was never heard from again that night. The next morning, his pickup truck was found crashed into a tree. Ron Gillespie, at the age of 35, had lost his life. At the scene, a handgun was found underneath his body. The weapon had been fired, a single shot. The police reported the incident as an alcohol-related traffic accident, but those who knew Ron said he didn't drink. Why was that gun fired that night? Did Ron shoot someone, or was he shot at? These questions were never answered. After Ron's death, Mary and Gordon Massey did indeed begin an affair, but the letters did not stop. On the contrary, they became even more vicious. Now it wasn't just letters. Insulting signs were being posted along Mary's bus route. The most terrifying, however, were the threats targeting Mary's 13-year-old daughter. The letters said that if Mary remained silent, her daughter would be next. On February 7, 1983, while driving her bus in the afternoon, Mary saw a sign on the road. It contained severe language about her daughter. Mary wanted to stop and take the sign down, but the sign was tied with a rope to a box. She took the box home and opened it. Inside was a handgun, its barrel pointed toward her, a booby trap. The trigger mechanism was rigged to fire when the box was opened, but by sheer luck, it malfunctioned. The police traced the serial number on the gun to its owner, Paul Freshour, Ron's former brother-in-law, the man they had suspected for years but could never prove guilty. Freshour denied the accusations, claiming his gun had been stolen weeks earlier. But his estranged wife Karen, who was in the midst of divorcing him, told the police she suspected Paul was the one writing the letters. In October 1983, Paul Freshour was tried for attempted murder. Throughout the trial, he proclaimed his innocence, but handwriting experts testified there were similarities between the writing in the letters and Freshour's own handwriting. The jury was convinced. Freshour was sentenced to up to 25 years in prison. He served 10. The townspeople breathed a sigh of relief. The letter writer had been caught. The nightmare was over. but he hadn't been caught. While Paul Freshour was in prison, the letters kept coming. The same handwriting, the same capital letters, the same threatening tone. In fact, a letter even came addressed to Paul Freshour himself. The letter told Freshour he would rot in prison and that the real culprits were them. Prison authorities repeatedly checked Freshour's access to writing materials, searched his cell, but never found a thing. The letters continued incessantly until 1994, right up until Freshour was released. After 1994, no more letters ever came. So, was Paul Freshour truly the author of the letters, or was he the victim of a conspiracy? According to the first theory, Freshour was guilty. While in prison, an accomplice sent the letters for him. That's the simplest explanation. Perhaps a friend or a relative was helping him. The fact that the letters stopped when Freshour was released also strengthens this theory. In fact, in 2021, a handwriting expert who appeared on a television program said that, based on examining over 100 letters, she firmly believed Freshour was the author. According to the expert, the way the letters were shaped, the form of the numbers, even the misspellings matched up perfectly. The second theory argues that Freshour was innocent and was framed. Those who defend this theory have strong evidence. First, the letters continued to arrive while Freshour was in prison. Second, during the booby trap incident, there are witness statements claiming a man who did not resemble Freshour was seen at the scene. Third, years later, the girlfriend of Freshour's son claimed that it was actually Paul's son who stole the gun and gave it to a woman. If this is true, Freshour may have been set up. Private detective Martin Yant, who investigated this case for years, argued that Freshour did not receive a fair trial. But what if the author is still out there? According to Martin Yant, the person who wrote these letters must be someone with a serious personality disorder, someone who takes pleasure in causing others pain, and someone like that, having managed to conceal their identity for years, wouldn't suddenly attempt something as risky as setting up a booby trap. So perhaps the trap was set by someone else, operating in the shadow of the letter writer, someone who wanted to exploit the chaos that had been created, and the real letter writer continued to terrorize the town even while Freshour was behind bars. Perhaps there were two of them. Perhaps the letters stopped because the author died or became too old to write anymore. Who knows? Today, Circleville is a quiet town once again. The Pumpkin Festival is still held. The mailman still passes by at the same time every morning. But the scars of that 18-year nightmare, lasting from 1976 to 1994, haven't faded. Mary Gillespie still remembers those letters. Paul Freshour, who proclaimed his innocence to everyone, died in 2012. And the real author? Could they still be out there somewhere? Perhaps a neighbor who passes by you every day, a familiar face waiting in line at the post office, or even someone you've never met at all. The letters fell silent, but the questions never did. The secret of Circleville remains hidden inside those envelopes, between those handwritten lines. And perhaps some secrets are written precisely so they may never be fully revealed. Remember, sometimes the greatest fear may be waiting for you silently inside an envelope left at your door. For more videos like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. I am SIMURG. See you in the next video.